All right, and joining me on the phone now, the former head coach of the Oklahoma Sooners, here to talk about his book, No Excuses, The Making of a Head Coach. Bob Stoops is on the phone. Coach Stoops, how you doing today?
Great to be with you this morning.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. And first of all, I appreciate you doing this at all. Opening chapter of the book, there is a direct line where you say, I would rather eat green flies than do a media interview. So I hope this isn't too painful for you, first of all, to start. So.
No, great to be with you. Only you, though. But,
Okay.
Anyway, I'm glad to do it.
Well, fantastic. It is. I'll say this. I've read the book cover to cover. It's an awesome book. You take it so deep in so many different directions. Your family, your time as a player at Iowa, assistant coach, head coach. Why now? Obviously, you've been away from the game for 3 years. You're going to get back in this summer a little bit with the XFL. But why did you decide at this point of your life, at this point in your career, to write this book?
Well, first of all, I would never have taken the time if I was still coaching at Oklahoma. I just, every day was spent trying to make the program better. So I've had the time to do it. And I've been asked so many times for years a couple of questions. One, my path and how did this happen for me? Because a lot of other coaches in different levels want to know, because they want to do it. Like, I want to become a head coach. How did you do it? How did it happen for you? And I can't really tell people in a 5-minute conversation how this all happened. As well as I'm asked quite often by even business people, how did you turn around? How did you change the culture and turn Oklahoma around so fast, going undefeated in our second year after having so many bad years ahead of us being there? That's also a big question I'm hit with a lot, as well as how did we remain so consistent for this past 20 years? Those are questions that, again, are just all hard to answer in a 5-minute conversation. So I thought, hey, I'll lay out my path and how we changed the culture and how we've kept it so consistent through the years, and just put it all out there in a book. And Gene Wojciechowski was incredibly great to work with. He's such a great writer and a great person to work with.
When you do look back on your time at Oklahoma, I mean, there were so many things. Obviously, you win a national championship, you play for a few more, you have some unbelievable players during your time at the University of Oklahoma, so many first-round draft picks, guys in the NFL, Heisman Trophy winners. What do you, if somebody does ask you in a 2-minute conversation, the best memories from Oklahoma, how do you answer it? What are the things that really, reflecting back, stand out?
You mean some of my best memories?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the early year, the first year, 99, getting the program turned, I think a huge moment for us that's overlooked was the Texas A&M, our homecoming game. A&M was the Big 12 champs the year before, and a team that had been kicking the heck out of Oklahoma at the time. And we made a stand that we're finally we're changing this, and we beat them 51-6, I believe. And that's when I felt we really got over the hump, that the program really started to turn in that first year when in that game. And then we go on and go undefeated all the games the year after, where we have an undefeated season and win the national championship. The Nebraska game, I think, was the late October. We had 3 straight games of Kansas State, Texas, and Nebraska, and all were ranked teams. And we beat them all in consecutive weeks. That was also a huge moment to really change and turn the program.
One of the guys that played, I don't know if it's an integral role, but certainly one of your most high-profile players was Adrian Peterson. There were so many stories in the book. One thing that I had forgotten, which you kind of brought back to life in the book, Adrian Peterson, this was one of the wildest stories I think I've ever heard in college football recruiting. Fans love the recruiting stories, but Adrian Peterson's father was, I believe, actually in prison at the time that you recruited him. Obviously, has since gotten out, has gotten his life together. But I was amazed. I had forgotten that story. One, just your memories of working with Adrian, but then 2, specifically recruiting him, because I have to imagine, with all due respect to Adrian and his father, who again has been out of prison for years, living his life now, that was unlike probably any recruiting visit you had ever done, right?
It was in that he was incarcerated at the time, and we meet out in the yard, picnic table out in the yard. And at the time in Texas, and he was in a prison there in Texas. But his dad's a wonderful guy. He was really recruiting him. Had a great visit. He didn't. His dad was awesome about not wanting anything promised to Adrian, that he's going to have to work for it. And and it was a great recruiting visit. And Bonita, his mother, was there as well, and one of his younger brothers. And so we had a great visit. And Adrian is one of the easier guys to recruit. He didn't want you calling him every day and things like that.
Yeah.
He didn't care about that. He knew he wanted to go to OU. He said, he wanted to be challenged, and he knew we would push him. And so he was great to recruit. And his dad was wonderful, like I said. And his dad was released a couple of years after Adrian was with us, and he would come to the games and practice here and there, and was a great parent, and was a fun guy to be with.
Maybe the easiest recruit that you ever had, Baker Mayfield. So he just basically showed up on campus, right? And you guys weren't even totally aware until he was there that this former walk-on at Texas Tech had enrolled and wanted to be part of your program?
Yeah, we had heard the rumors that he was coming to Oklahoma, but nobody had contacted us. And sure enough, in my first team meeting in the second semester of school, where we get all the players back for the second semester, he was at the team meeting and came up and introduced himself to me after the meeting. He said, "I'm Baker Mayfield." I said, "You sure as hell are, aren't you?" And I said, he said he wanted to walk on. I said, "Well, I'm glad you're here, and you're going to have every opportunity that everybody else has." And I had watched him play. He had won 5 games, I think it was, for Tech. I was like, man, I'm glad this guy's here. And sure enough, it didn't take us maybe a month, and we put him on scholarship before we even got to spring ball. But you could just tell the way he was working out that, hey, this is a guy we need to put on scholarship and have here.
Was there a moment in that first spring? I mean, I remember he won the job going into that fall camp, and at the time he had Trevor Knight, who had been successful. Was there a moment or a play or a practice where you realized this guy is just a little bit different?
Yeah, well, he didn't play the first year. He had to
right.
From transferring. So when he was directing the scout team against our defense that year, he had to sit out. You could tell early on that he's really special. Just players, he got that excitement, that it factor, that players around him play better when he's in there. And then he could throw the ball. He's so accurate. He got such a strong and quick arm, and he could scramble. He does all the things you see now, but we could see that early on when he was going against our defense, running the scout team.
How about Lincoln Riley? I mean, he comes from kind of he comes from the lineage of Mike Leach and all that. But what was it? And you obviously, for people who don't know, Mike Leach was your first offensive coordinator at Texas Tech. But what was it about Lincoln Riley? Because obviously, the last 3 years, everybody has really gotten to know who this guy is. What did you see in him early that you thought, okay, this guy at the very least is going to be an excellent play caller for me for this program? And then, of course, later on, you obviously handed over the program to him later on.
Yeah, just all of it. Just his poise, his toughness and competitiveness, all of it together. Working with him for 2 years that I had with him, I knew he's going to be a head coach, and that's really the reason I felt comfortable walking away. That I knew the right guy was there to continue to push the program forward. I knew he would do that, and it's happening. He's incredibly bright, smart. Not just play caller and offensive mind, but even as a head coach, he does a great job, and he's going to continue to have a huge future.
One last guy I want to talk to you about, and again, the book is called No Excuses, The Making of a Head Coach. Another head coach in college football, your brother Mark Stoops. I mean, I think that he has done an unbelievably, almost underrated job at the University of Kentucky. They're coming off a 10-win season. Whether it's from afar, whether it's from your conversations with him, how proud are you of him? Because I look at him, very tough job, and he's obviously raised the bar at Kentucky, and now, like I said, coming off a 10-win season.
Yeah, no, I'm, of course, very proud of Mark, my brother Mark, and the job he's doing at Kentucky. And he's done an awesome job. He and his assistant coaches there have really built that program to last. They're going to continue to do well. And, it isn't just 1 year. They're year in and year out here, they've been playing consistently. They've been, a tough team to play. and continue to win. You know, it was a tough one last week there
Yep.
on the cusp, close to beating Florida there, and so they're not going away, and he's going to continue to do a great job there.
One of the things you talk about really throughout the book is that you had plenty of opportunities throughout your career to consider leaving for other coaching opportunities, whether it was in the NFL, whether it was other college jobs. Obviously, as Mark continues to have success, those options are available to him. Now, one, I would never ask you to speak for Mark, but do you have any advice? And I'm not even asking if he has come to you, but if he did, what kind of advice would you have? And then also just kind of in the bigger picture, again, I know you don't want to necessarily speak for him, but do you get the sense that maybe he could potentially make a career of it at Kentucky like you did at Oklahoma?
Sure he can. I think all circumstances are different. His life is different than mine, and I always trusted the people closest to me and my wife, and always kind of evaluated my own circumstances when weighing an option to do something different with a different job. The bottom line is everyone, you've got to live your life and be true to yourself and the people closest to you and what's best for them as well. So I wouldn't tell anyone, give anyone advice on it, because no one knows your own life better than you do. So I would just say trust your own instincts and your own and your family and what you feels best for you.
Very good. Wrap up here with a couple quick questions. One, you are kind of making a return to coaching this summer. Like I said, you will be in the XFL with the Dallas franchise. You've been away from college for a few years, and I believe all your kids are out of the house. Was this just the right time to get back in some way, shape, or form? And with no disrespect to the XFL, maybe it's not the 365-day-a-year commitment that college football is?
Well, it was just right for me. I believe in the leadership of, Vince McMahon, the owner, and Oliver Luck, our commissioner. They've got a great vision for exciting, fun football that people are going to want to watch, and I want to be a part of it. And, working with older players, you think about the last 5 guys cut from every NFL roster. Those are really good football players. So having a chance to work with them and, so anyway, all of it just seemed to fit right now, and I'm excited about the opportunity. I think it's going to be it's going to be really exciting and fun to coach in it and to watch it.
Last question. You are still kind of a very young guy, 59 years old. Do you, listen, I know you've been asked a million times about coaching in college again, but how do you envision these next, couple decades of your life? Because you are a young guy, you have been removed, and I know you've been very public about there's only so much golf that you can play and all that kind of stuff. Would college ever interest you again? Is there any thought that maybe down the road now, like I said, your kids are out of the house, all that kind of stuff, that you would think about college again?
Well, this isn't, I'm not doing this for some avenue back.
Sure.
I don't need this to get an avenue back.
Of course, yeah.
So the bottom line is I'm excited about this opportunity, and you don't know what you're going to be doing 5 years from now either.
Absolutely.
So no one does. The good Lord's the only one who knows what the rest of my path will be, and I'll wait and find out.
All right. The name of the book, again, is No Excuses, The Making of a Head Coach by Bob Stoops. As I said, I read the book cover to cover. Really enjoy it. Takes you through his entire career, his time with his family in Youngstown, Ohio, University of Iowa, his assistant coach, head coach. Coach, I think you got to run. I think you got more calls coming in, but I do appreciate the time this afternoon.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.